Okay, this is the recording. This is not me doing a live stream. I was on leave last week, so I didn't stream last week Friday. But I did still experiment with AI coding. And I thought this would make a cool little video just to go over some of the things that I experimented with last week. Yes, I'm that guy. Even when I'm on leave, I mess around with code. I just can't help myself. So the project that I'm busy working on is this bill splitter app. The idea is that you, on your phone, you're at a restaurant, you're with some friends, you're having a meal, you need to split the bill. Now, I know there's apps out there that already do it. I wanted to see what it would take if I built my own using AI. So I'm in the process of building that. I started by building a web version, which essentially the idea is you scan the bill, it reads the items on the bill, it submits that as a JSON object to a web server somewhere, which then returns a QR code, which then shows on your screen, and then all your guests can scan that QR code, and that'll open up a thing that they can then input their bills and package it all together. That was the goal. So the thinking was I'm going to use Laravel for the web app, and I'm going to use React Native for the mobile app, just because those are two technologies that I'm fairly familiar with and they can be fairly specific to what I need. I could have used WordPress for the web app. I might still do that, but I just feel like Laravel, I can get up and running quickly with it. And also, I just wanted to see what would happen if I decided to tell it to use Laravel. Because so far it's pretty good with WordPress, so I wanted to try other technologies. So the web app, I did follow, if you watched last week's video, I was using GitHub Copilot for all of this. So there was one pull request. I did a one shot for the first implementation of the web app, assigned it to Copilot, and it went and built a whole bunch of things for me. And so if you have a look at this on my local here, which I'm going to open up, this all pretty much works. Let me start the web server. And then, so that's running on 027001800. Then I've got this Postman instance open. It has the generate QR endpoint. There are the items that I can submit to. You hit send, it submits the items, and it returns the QR code. So this all works pretty well. I still need to get the QR code to display on the phone and all those things. But if you click on this URL, actually not there, I'm going to actually copy it out because I need to be able to copy it out and view it on the web. That's what the viewer would see in their phone, in their mobile browser. They could then enter their name, so David, whatever, and I can't spell David. So my name is David, and I had the margarita pizza and the lemonade, and I want to tip 10%. And then it totals up my total, and everybody on the bill does this, and then it sends it back to the original person that has the mobile app and shows the breakdown. That's the goal. So this was step one, getting the web app going. So this works pretty well. I still haven't got the response coming back to the mobile app yet, but I've gotten to this point and I was happy with this. As a one shot, you're welcome to go check it out. It's on my GitHub. It's a public repo called Bill Splitter Web if you want to see how that all works. Step two is getting the app working. Now, this is where things kind of fell apart, because I started working on this. I'll show you. This was last week, October the 5th. So last October the 5th was the Sunday. The Sunday I started playing with this, got the first version working. Then I implemented, then I decided to switch over to a new repository and create the first implementation of the app. Again, with a one shot, create the repository, give it some context, and say go. And you'll see this was also created on the 6th, so this was on the Monday. I think I created it the Sunday night and then let it run overnight and work up the Monday morning, I think. And version 1 was pretty decent, but I got a bunch of errors. So I told Copilot to fix an expo error, which it then fixed. I was then getting errors with workers not existing, which is something about Tesseract and web workers and React Native. So then it replaced it with a demo mode that shows sampleable items. and clear guidance for integrating cloud OCR services. So Tesseract, I guess, is a local OCR service that doesn't work. I don't know. um, and that worked pretty well. The demo worked pretty well, but I thought, no, I'm not happy with this. I'm going to try and start over again. So I closed this pull request and I started a new one. And I think that was this one over here. Yes. I basically, based on the experimentation that I did from, actually, no, I'm talking nonsense. Then I started, I can't remember. It was 2 days, 3 days ago. So that was last week. That was, oh, that one was actually merged. Sorry, that one was actually merged. So the first version with the demo code was merged. So I at least had a working demo on my phone. I can show people this is how it should work. So then I said, okay, fine. I did a bit of research. I think what I did was I did a bit of research on how I could do OCR natively on the device. And I discovered a blog post. Was it this one? No. I'm trying to find it here now. Was it this one? I can't remember the process now. This is something else. I think it was one of the open PRs. I cannot remember now. This is frustrating. So I merged that one. And then no, it wasn't that one. It must have been this one. It must have been 3. So where's 2? Hang on. Yeah, it must have been 3. So with 3, trying to think what I asked it to do. Oh, wait, hang on. I created an issue for it. That's right. So let's go back to issues. Yes. Okay, that's right. Let's remember where I put it. So I did a bit of research and I discovered this article on Medium that talks about using ML kits in React Native. So I created that issue and I assigned it to GitHub Copilot and I said, can we implement this? So it basically went through and implemented it. Did a whole bunch of regexing for the prices. And then I started testing this. And so the first version of the app, I was using something called Expo, which Copilot had just suggested for me. And I quite like the whole Expo implementation. It's basically a way to build and ship React Native mobile apps. So I've been using that for building. So that was quite a cool sort of outcome of this process as I learned about Expo and how it works. So I was having issues with the app not working, and I kind of gave that back to Copilot. And then it said to me, React Native ML Kit doesn't work with Expo Go because it requires native code compilation. So then it reverted it back to the demo code, claiming that fixed the error, and then implemented this Expo Go limitation, and spoke about this Expo development build. So that was great. That was cool. So then I said, okay, let's go with the Expo OCR option, but include instructions on how to use the Expo development build. So I did that. It gave me instructions to use, so I started using that. And then I started having issues where it was showing NA for each price. So it started trying to fix that. And it kind of worked, but it kind of didn't. So I merged that code. So at the moment, then I was kind of looking at it and checking it out. And I opened up this new issue to say, make sure to only detect and list the line items. And I basically did some more research around how best to do this. So I sort of gave it a function to work with. And it started spinning up some things. And you'll see here, this is now the mark line items function. And it goes off and it does its thing. And I've basically spent the whole week trying to get this to work. And at this stage, I still don't have it working. So what was the point of all that? The point of all that was, in my opinion, what I need to start looking at doing is giving it better instructions. So I've given it an issue to configure Copilot instructions. I need to understand how Expo works better. I need to understand how the build process works. I need to understand a little bit better how the text, the OCR stuff works. I also need to look at the functionality that takes the line items and parses out the price patterns, because that's still not right. But essentially what I'm finding is with this code base, which is using APIs and functionality that is newer, that I am less experienced with, my success rate is lower. So when I'm working in WordPress, when I'm working in Laravel, when I'm working in PHP stuff, the success rate is a lot higher. I know enough about how these things work to be able to implement tests and checking, to be able to see what works and what doesn't work. Right now, I have no idea how this text recognition thing works, what it does, what to expect of it. I would love to write a unit test to test this pass receipt test myself and see that it does everything I need to do. I have no idea how to even start doing that for a React Native project. So it's sort of hitting the limitations of my knowledge of the technology and AI's knowledge of how to do things. So I kind of wanted to record this as a proof of the fact that it's still, and this kind of goes back to the whole purpose of these videos, it's still not going to replace you as a developer. You still need to understand how everything works. One of the things that I've stayed away from very specifically was when it suggested using cloud-based services. Because now that means, I think it was on this one, I can't remember, one of them had suggested cloud-based services. That means implementing API keys. That means somebody finding the code and spamming my API service and causing me large amounts of money or large bills. And I'm not ready to give AI access to all of that yet. So it's an interesting little sort of experiment in sort of pushing me outside of my comfort zone, using AI. That having been said, I have learned a lot about building React Native apps. I've learned about Expo and how that works, and I've had to kind of figure that out. I've been looking through the code to understand how the code works, and that's probably going to be the next thing I do, is actually spend some more time just looking at the code and what the code does. I haven't been doing a lot of that. And so the key takeaway or the key learning I had from this is AI is great if you already have a thorough understanding of the technology that you're using and the packages that are available and how things work. Where it falls apart, where it stops becoming useful, is when you're building in things that you have no idea what you're doing, you have no idea what the code is supposed to be doing, and it just goes off and does random things for you. It would be interesting to see if I could do a similar thing in Claude Code. Maybe the LLM that I'm using in GitHub Copilot is the problem. So that might be something I look at a future stream. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But I definitely feel like it's something that you could iterate on and learn from. So somebody actually commented on one of my shorts the other day and said, like, this is not great for beginners. And I don't know if I agree with that, because as a beginner to this language, I can learn about this and how it works and what it does. So pros and cons. I think the important thing, and I can't reiterate this enough, is if you're going to be experimenting with these things, and I said this last week and I'll say it again this week, know how to test these things, know how to check these things, learn about testing, unit testing, integration tests, checks that you can run, code linting that you can run, because I'm sure there's a lot that you can get away with using AI, but there's a lot that you'll need to actually do the work yourself. So I'm still very pro AI. I'm still enjoying this process. This is kind of like a passion project of mine. If it takes me the rest of the year to get it working, I don't care. But I am learning a lot about the process. I'm interested to dive into improving my Copilot experience. one of the reasons that this Copilot instructions issue exists is because Copilot actually suggested this issue for me in one of my pull requests. It said configure instructions, and it gave me like a template to use. And so now there's a pull request ready for me to review. So I'll probably look at that next. And I didn't even see that stuff there. So yeah, I'll be interested to see if I add the instructions, how does that improve the process? But again, it's not going to replace me tomorrow. Like I'm sure a React Native dev and a Laravel dev would be able to build this stuff without bugs from the word go, possibly quicker than I could. Maybe, I don't know. But it certainly is interesting to experiment with, to play with. And I'm definitely learning about React Native development and how to build and how to test. So it's not a complete loss. Anyway, so that's my bit for this week. Just a very short video, just to make sure there's a video out on Monday at 5 p.m. normal time. If you like this, please give me a like and a subscribe. If you didn't like it, feel free to comment and tell me why you didn't like it. And I'll see by Friday how I feel about what's going on. There's a couple other things that I want to stream on Friday. I also want to get back into streaming on YouTube as well as Twitch. So I might look into that this week. So keep an eye out for that. But otherwise, that's it for me for now. Let me know what you think in the comments. Bye.